Here we are, January of 2019, and I think the last time I made a actual YouTube video where I was talking to you guys was probably 2016. I started this channel back in 2011. Oh my god, just dating myself, but I turned 30 last month. I was 22 when I first started this channel, and I decided that I wanted to kind of come back to it. I wanted to do a video focused on things that I've kind of learned in that time, things that I kind of regret, things I wish I could have improved on or done differently. A little bit of retrospect, and hopefully can help some of you or any other new viewers that I might have. Just to give you some background as of where I'm at today. I am working for a mortgage company. I am the director of business development and marketing, and I actually have my loan officer license. I passed the NMLS and I have my license. It's a safe exam, as well as my real estate license, my Cal DRE. Received that back in November, so I am definitely ingrained in real estate, but as many of you guys know, that is not where I was at years ago. Didn't expect to end up in this field, but I'm really happy. Probably the happiest I've been in my life, which is crazy. But I mean, when they say that things kind of start coming together in your 30s, it's true. I just didn't anticipate it happening in such a short, condensed amount of time, so close to my 30th birthday, as well as just all of the trials and tribulations that I went through in 2018. It definitely made just everything that's happened recently that much sweeter, I guess. So anyways, let's get started. Okay, so something that I really wish I had done in my early 20s was, I mean, ideally sooner, when I was in high school. I wish I had started a Roth IRA. The idea of compound interest is actually fairly new to me, unfortunately, and I just was never really interested. My dad had always told me to invest, and unfortunately I didn't take the time to research. Having a good understanding and grasp of finances and financial, just having a financial knowledge is just going to be so beneficial. It's terrible to see a lot of people, young people, have, you know, enormous amounts of debt, or just, you know, there's just large irresponsibility that just ends up catching up with them. I mean, whether it's if you're trying to rent a nicer place or put a down payment on a house, you know, these are the things that your credit ultimately impacts when you're older. Also wish, super basic, I had known about cash rewards cards. Like back in 2007, they definitely kind of manipulated the fact that I was very not knowledgeable before the whole banking infrastructure had to go under all the regulations and whatnot, and so they just could tell you anything. And so at that point I was like, oh, I need to have a US bank account in order to use my financial aid. False. I was just really stupid. US Bank now, they offer a really cool cash rewards card. There's a bunch of different companies that do. Chase, I hear, has a really good one. But just being able to spend on the things that you normally would, and then paying it down monthly, which is the most important part. Not just letting it accrue interest unnecessarily, just paying it off monthly. You literally get cash back for your purchases at places that you would already purchase at. I am using it for gas, and I'm using it for groceries. Now, this actually segues into my next point. I wish I had taken more time to learn how to cook for myself, to learn how to meal prep. All of those things are going to play so heavily into your overall health, your financial stability, because being able to save money instead of eating out all the time, it's a huge social experience for me and my friends. That has not changed over the years. However, I have definitely cut back significantly in the amount of money that I spend when it comes to going out. The novelty of having a drink when you're out at dinner or something, that was really exciting when you just turned 21 and you're in your early 20s and you're like getting carded. You're also spending like 15 bucks on a drink that you really don't need. It's not benefiting you in any way or shape or form. I wish I could have taken more time in figuring out alternative living situations. It's very expensive in downtown San Diego. And so I was paying at one point $16.75, which was actually a pretty good deal for where I was, but still, like, the amount of money that I've been, you know, known to spend, and it was primarily because I didn't want to live with someone. And that's a personal choice. Everyone has, you know, a personal choice. And if I could just kind of navigate those waters a little bit better, explore different areas. Being in real estate, you start seeing things a little bit differently, and you start kind of opening your eyes to certain areas and seeing gentrification happen firsthand and understanding, you know, developments and what's been invested into certain areas and stuff like that. So I definitely had a very closed off mindset in high school, early college years. That's the other thing. Some of my friends also got really nice cars when they were young. I'm talking BMWs, Mercedes, and even just like German cars in general, but they couldn't afford them. If the window broke, or, you know, it required, you know, maintenance, which is very consistent with having a luxury vehicle. My friends struggled because it was just, hey, like, we want to look cool, but then you can't drive it now because the transmission is shot, and, you know, it's just like more expensive than the car itself. I mean, most wealthy people, I've also come to learn, they don't necessarily indulge in all of those brands, and it's not about keeping up with the Joneses. It's kind of more so about accumulating wealth and, you know, having the option to spend that money, but choosing not to. You know, there's a lot of fake rich people, especially that I've come by in nightlife. But when you start breaking down their taxes, when you start breaking down their income, when you start breaking down, you know, their credit lines, which is what I do, like, that's what I started in as a loan processor, you start seeing the differentiations between people who have real wealth and assets and people who are faking it. You know, there are times where I felt like ashamed to go to Ross to like buy clothing. I mean, that was even going back to my childhood. I grew up going to Ross. Now everything that I own, pretty much all my Instagram posts from recently are all from Ross, like the clothing. I've never been a person who is for brands in the first place. Like, I don't like spending a lot of money on something that I know personally I'm going to drop, I'm going to scratch, I'm going to eventually just total, mainly because I just don't really have a reverence for those things, which has helped me. Because wanting a Louis Vuitton purse and then eventually wanting to replace that purse with something else, like, I understand it is high quality, but I'm very functional when it comes to just grabbing a purse from Target. So that's just me. I remember, you know, one of my relationships, it was very much like who could do more and who could spend or outspend the other person, which was almost like pointless and ridiculous. Some of those things could have been going into savings that had, you know, some compounded interest in it, and instead we were blowing money on hot air balloons and gondola rides and things like that. And it's like cool for the memory, but eventually, I mean, most people that I know break up in their 20s, and so there's some people who end up being together forever, which is great, and you should probably do those kind of more significant events, like those, you know, gestures later on as you guys progress through your relationship. I did like so many of those things in like the first year, but also dating people who are more leeches and not useful. Like, there's no good ROI or return of interest for being with these people. For example, I dated a guy and I let him stay with me because I just wanted to be in a relationship with him so badly, but instead of reflecting on, you know, is this going to be a good financial decision for you? Is this going to be beneficial for you? I was just pure impulse and pure, like, I want to help, you know, and that's something that even to this day, I still struggle with in a sense, because I always seem to want to help or rescue someone else. And you can't necessarily do that and thrive on your own and be the best that you can be. So it's great to be compassionate, but there are other ways. And so I remember I let this guy live with me, you know, rent free. He and I would argue over groceries and, like, you know, paying for them, and he, you know, would barely ever contribute, and it was so difficult for me. I ended up falling out of love with this guy because I was so resentful and bitter with him, and it was just a very toxic relationship that if I could have cut that off sooner, I would have been a lot better. I think a very important thing is emphasizing to young people that the people you surround yourself with are very, it's critical to have people who motivate you, who are ambitious, who you see moving through life and are progressing and encouraging you to do so. If you're surrounding yourself with people that party and are just not really doing anything, they're failing or repetitive or, you know, kind of staying at that same job and not really moving forward, they're comfortable, you don't really want to hang out with those people, especially if there's room for development. I definitely got comfortable being in nightlife. Certain things that come along with nightlife that are distracting. I mean, generally you're hired because you're good looking and there's, you know, charisma, and then you're just around all these people and it becomes basically like a second level of high school. It just becomes all the same people, all the same faces, and a lot of those people get trapped and they don't know how to get out of that. They don't really kind of develop themselves professionally outside of that. And the unfortunate thing is, once your looks start to fade and once things, you know, once your body isn't what it was, then you're not as profitable and you're more likely to get passed over for the 22-year-old. I've always had a professional career alongside, or at least another job alongside of what I've done in nightlife. I never wanted to be financially dependent on just nightlife, even though it is easy money, and I did start in cocktailing and then progressed into dancing and pretty much managing. It is something that can be taken away like that. I saw myself hanging out with different circles that weren't really doing anything with their lives. And I knew I wasn't going to be happy or satisfied in that environment. Everyone's entitled to do what they want to do, but for me personally, I knew that I wanted to excel in a career because I'm not happy unless I feel challenged and unless I feel like I'm progressing. But that being said, you know, the people that you surround yourself with, even in my early 20s, there's a lot of toxic relationships that I had to cut out. And looking back on them, I just wish I had done it sooner. The FOMO, the fear of missing out, the obligations that you feel to be at certain things, or like, oh, why aren't you drinking? Or feeling like they're, you know, the peer pressure and all of that stuff. It's just in your mind. Like, you can control what you want to do. You can control things more so than what you think. And that's the thing, is that like with age comes confidence, with age comes experience. And unfortunately, I always have wanted to please other people. But over time, it's become so much easier for me to say no. Like, I don't want to do that. I'd rather save my money. Or no, you know, I don't really want to go to your baby shower because, you know what, we're not really that tight anyways. And like, I don't really feel like spending money on something like that. No, like, you didn't even come to my birthday party, so why should I reciprocate? You know, it's like things like that. Like, you just start realizing your circle's getting smaller. You realize who actually makes the gestures and who is important. And then you also realize who are the drinking friends, the people that you see out at the club, that, you know, whatever. Like, that's just a completely different entity, and you don't need to feel obligated. Something that really was a game changer for me was getting health insurance when I was 24. I want to say I was 24. I had health insurance up until I was 19 under my mom's health insurance, and then they dropped me and they were like, bye, good luck. I have always been lucky because I am a tribal member that I had the American Indian Health Center in San Diego to kind of fall back on. I've always gone to them for my dental work. Also provide medical services from, you know, therapy through just like things if you have strep throat, etc. It was during the Obamacare that I signed up, and I went to the American Indian Health Center and they helped me sign up. And then I just started going through lab work and getting things done and looked at. By the time I was 24, I had discovered that I had a bad thyroid and that my thyroid was underactive. And so, you know, I actually suffer a lot from fatigue. And during that time, I was dating the personal trainer and I was working out all the time. I was ripped and like super lean, and everyone kept asking me when I was going to do a bikini competition. And I was just like, I don't know, because I went to the gym all the time because he made me. My doctor ended up putting me on hypothyroid medication, which is levothyroxine. and I take that daily. It's about 75 milligrams, and there have been thyroid issues in my family, but like, you know, had I probably discovered that sooner, things probably could have been a little bit better for me. I always try to encourage young women to, I mean, like one of my really good friends, she's a 23-year-old and she is so like, she has so much potential, and I see a lot of myself in her, and I see, you know, that spark and that passion, and yet I also see the things that I personally failed at when it came to being in toxic relationships with people who are verbally abusive and, you know, sort of undermine you in order to control you. It is very toxic and unfortunate, and it holds you back from your, you know, potential and your full potential to kind of be happy and to do things independently without feeling emotionally dependent or codependent on someone who lacks everything, honestly. If you can be with someone who supports you, is ambitious, you know, makes you feel good, makes you feel happy, doesn't, you know, make you feel that you're less than them, doesn't make you feel insecure, ideally would lift you up and help you reach those goals, even if it's something, you know, silly. I've always had with all my exes, I thought the YouTube thing was ridiculous and that I was just, you know, narcissistic, or it was just stupid and pointless. And if it makes you happy and it's something that you feel that is going to benefit you, don't let anyone else tell you otherwise. I mean, I'm not going to say I had the largest success with YouTube, but it was something that I enjoyed doing creatively. And that's kind of why I'm back. Anything that I can help you guys with or impart, you know, based off of my life experience that I could give to you guys, you know, that's what I wanted this channel to really embody. That's what I've always wanted it to embody. If I can show you something and you guys can take that and run with it, then awesome. So thank you guys for watching, and I will chat with you later. Bye.